And welcome back to Nancy's Neighborhood, folks. And we had Dwight Richardson on, and he talked to us about spirits, legends, and lores, which is going to be a Halloween type storytelling event that's going to be downtown Friday night in the Communication Building on Lee campus. And tickets are available at the Chamber and at Bank of Cleveland. There may be some tickets at the door, but you may not want to trust that. But one of the storytellers, and I'm glad she's here with me, I love having Judy Baker on. She's a great storyteller, and usually when I have her on, she tells a story. So with Cleveland Storytelling Guild, Judy Baker, and Judy is telling a story Friday night.
I am.
Good. What story are you telling?
I am telling the vampire chair.
Okay.
And it's true.
It's a true story.
It's true. It's true.
And now, is this a true story that y'all have embellished a little, or is this a true story?
We always embellish.
I love this. I love this event because you never know just how far across the line they've gone with some of these stories.
A story without embellishment is like apple pie without ice cream.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And we just don't need that at all. So now you've been working on spirits, legends, and lores since the inception.
I met with Dwight that first year.
And I think that's great. And you've stuck with it.
I must be a glutton for punishment. I don't know.
Either that or you and Dwight get along okay. But now, how long is your story, roughly?
Oh, they'll be about 7-8 minutes long.
Okay, each one of them will be about that time.
About that.
And so we have, I always love, we have semi-true stories that are being told.
We wouldn't lie.
I love this event, folks. And Judy is a fantastic storyteller. And I'm not kidding you. She was on here once, and it's when we were at the other set, and she was sitting beside me, and she was telling a spooky story. And she said, boo, and I just about jumped out of the chair. So, but this isn't what's happening Friday. These are just stories. We don't want anybody to come expecting a haunted house or anything because it's not.
It's local legends, lore, things that go bump in the night.
Yes.
And that's the worst of it. Nobody's going to jump out. Nobody's going to say boo. There's not going to be bloodletting or anything like that. It's just interesting stories that are little known about our area.
And I think they're so fascinating. I think everybody knows the mausoleum story. I mean, that's just something that...
Everybody at least knows something about the mausoleum.
Mm-hmm.
They probably don't know the whole history behind it. And you might know a little bit about maybe Stampers or maybe Charleston or whatever, but you don't know. We like to concentrate a little bit on the story behind the story.
And that makes it interesting.
That's what makes it interesting.
Really, really does. And Judy is a local, state, regional storyteller. She's almost a national storyteller. She goes everywhere because she's already told me she can't work Cherries Jubilee this year because you're telling. Where are you going to be telling?
I'll be featured at North Georgia Storytelling Festival or Georgia Mountain Storytelling Festival in Blairsville.
Okay. And so, see, she travels everywhere and tells stories. And also, she gets an arts grant from Allied Arts and brings storytellers into our schools.
That will be next, end of January, 1st of February. It'll be Kim Whitecamp. We had her here several years ago. And at that time, she came back to Black Fox School.
Oh, that's right.
And recorded 2 award-winning CDs.
Right. I forgot about that. And so she's coming back this time with funds from Cherries Jubilee, folks. So we want to be sure everybody understands how we fund this. So now you all, the Cleveland Storytellers Guild has an event coming up. On
November the 17th, it will be a celebration, an evening of storytelling. Traditionally, celebration is held on the weekend before Thanksgiving. This year, we're having it that weekend. We normally have it the weekend before, but First Presbyterian, which is our venue, was booked up.
Oh.
So we're having it on the traditional weekend. The weekend before Thanksgiving, since the mid-'80s, on every continent except Antarctica, someone somewhere will be telling stories.
Wow.
That whole weekend.
That's neat. So that's Storytelling Weekend, Storytelling Day. What's it called?
It's called Celebration.
Oh, Celebration. Okay.
Every event is Celebration.
Okay. So give our fans just a little bit of preview of what's going to happen at Celebration.
It'll be 5 local tellers. I'll be one of them. Let's see, Steve Daugherty from Chattanooga, Bruce Hobson, who's one of our local storytellers. Owen Duncan will come all the way from Decatur, and Sarah Lord will be coming up from Chattanooga.
Okay, and so now these are not spirits, legends, and lores.
No.
These
no.
are old folk tales. What are they?
There'll be folk tales, there'll be tall tales, there'll be traditional Appalachian tales, whatever that particular teller. Each teller sort of has what's their favorite, what's their bailiwick, what's
Right.
in my wheelhouse.
Right.
And that's what we'll be telling. I haven't decided yet what I'll be telling.
Judy has a large selection of stories she
do,
can tell.
I do have some, and I do have some new ones, so it'll probably be a new one. And this year, because we only have 5 tellers, so we can have a little longer program, each teller will be telling 2 stories.
Oh, okay.
So like last year when I told a personal embellishment story or a tall tale, I forget what I told, and then I told a traditional story.
Okay.
So that, I like telling the traditional stories because usually anymore when you go to a storytelling event, they're telling personal stories and they're telling tall tales. And I tell those stories. I love telling those stories. Those are a lot of the stories I tell, but I also love telling the traditional stories from Appalachia. And if I have a chance, I tell them. When I'm down at the museum for a field trip, when we have students come in, that's the stories I will tell,
Oh, okay.
are the traditional Appalachian stories because we're an Appalachian museum.
Yes. Now, will you tell your stories back to back, or will you tell your story and the next one comes on, and then you tell 5? There'll be 5 tellers, and then the 5 repeat.
Yeah,
How do you do
that's
it?
how we'll do
Okay.
it. That's how we'll do it. We won't really have an intermission. We'll just have a stand up and stretch kind of break, and then we'll swap off again.
And that sounds great. And so everybody kind of picks the story they want to tell. What is, like you said, what's in their bailiwick?
Yes.
And I think that's great. Now let's talk about this. It's going to be at First Presbyterian on the 17th of November. Okay.
It's free.
Free.
but
I like free.
It's absolutely free, but we'll have a basket out for anybody that wants to help, with the donation. And it'll last about an hour and a half. We've cleared the building, everything's put back in place, ready for Sunday morning by 9 o'clock. So it's an evening of just relaxing tales, come away from all the chaos out there and come in and just sit back and let us take you somewhere else.
Now, what time does it start?
Starts at 7.
Starts at 7, so you'll be out by 9.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now, let's talk a little bit about the Cleveland Storytellers Guild, because you are one of the oldest still existing in the state of Tennessee.
We are. Our Ocoee Story Fest coming up on February the 1st of next year. This will be our 24th year.
Wow.
24th. And the National in Jonesboro just concluded last weekend, and they've been going since the mid-'70s.
Okay.
We've been going since the early '90s. But as far as I know, at least in the state of Tennessee, we are the longest running outside the Jonesboro Festival.
And Jonesboro, of course, is the heart of storytelling
It is.
in Tennessee.
It is.
And regionally, I mean, because people come every year. There's a storytelling event in Jonesboro, and
They'll have about 10,000 people.
that's what I thought.
They'll
And
have
that's
about
not a very
10,000.
big town.
No, it doubles, quadruples the population probably. They have to close school because they have to use the school buses to
Oh, my goodness.
ferry people from the parking lot in the field beside the school to get them to the festival grounds because parking is limited there except for handicap parking.
Right.
I've been a couple of times. I haven't had the opportunity to tell there. That usually is, the epitome of storytelling is to be featured there. But I'm happy telling at Georgia Mountain. I'm happy telling locally and regionally, and as long as somebody's willing to listen, I don't care if it's an audience of 5 or an audience of 5,000.
I think that's awesome. I want to ask you now, you also write stories.
I do.
And so I think that's awesome. So what you have done on this event that's going to happen Friday night, you've taken true stories, and I like the term embellish. You've embellished them a little bit, but you've kept the truth in there.
You have to keep enough.
Okay.
Even if you're telling a tall tale, even if you're telling somebody that's going to be an outright lie, you still have to have enough of an element of truth to make it believable.
Okay.
Then you go from that. Here is what my story is going to center around. People call it plot. I just call it what I need.
Okay.
Then, well, what about this? Well, then what about this? Then what about this? Then what about this? And you're adding layers just like you would a cinnamon roll. You know, the ingredients are always going to be the same. You're going to have the cinnamon. You're going to have the sugar. You're going to have to bake it. But I'm going to add a little icing. Well, maybe my icing will be this. Maybe my icing will be that. That's what embellishing a story is. You just cannot completely go off the deep end and have somebody not be able to believe.
Right.
They have to go along with you. You have to let them say, they're going to take me somewhere safe and they're going to bring me back again.
Oh, okay, and bring you back again. And that's what I like about these spirits, legends, and lores. Most of these, I'm kind of assuming that you have worked on writing and rewriting and embellishing and et cetera. So what are some of the stories that are going to be told?
We'll be telling the floating casket, and there's going to be some folklore in that, like Dwight said a little earlier. Something that when I added it, I didn't know until I'd read author Sharon McCrum's one of her books. And I thought when this story came along and I knew that element from her book of old folklore, and I looked it up. Google is your friend.
Yes, it is.
I looked it up and come to find out those things are done, and that's become a part of this story that made it a little more interesting than just telling about how many caskets and coffins were built at the Cleveland Casket Company.
I understand. So you have to almost verify some of the changes you make.
Oh, I try to if I can. If it's a tall tale, maybe not so much, but if it's something that's got to stay somewhat close to the truth, I will research. The story, The Vampire Chair I'm telling, there's actually a book out there that has the story in it, but I took elements from it. I also went and said, well, okay, it's in one book, is it anywhere else?
Oh, okay.
So it is. It's actually saying it's Charleston, Tennessee, and then it's also saying there are other stories about a bed or another piece of furniture, so this is not a single phenomenon. If I can, I will try to get as much background on a story as I can, whether it's what day it happened, what was the weather doing. Somebody said a historian will tell you what happened, an author or a storyteller will tell you how it felt.
Okay, and that's great, yes.
So we're not historians, we're storytellers.
You're storytellers, and we expect a little bit of embellishment because we want to be entertained while you're telling that story. And I'm excited. I've not heard The Vampire Chair, so I'm excited to hear that. Have you ever thought of writing a book, Judy, and putting your stories in a book?
Well, I sort of have, but it would be more of a storybook. It wouldn't be anything like, this is the history and the life and times. My life growing up was boring.
But I've heard you tell it, and it wasn't boring. It was funny, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it.
But you do have to add some elements to it if you want to entertain somebody. We're not just doing a life history, but I'll take a little piece of life history, like going with my mama to buy a coat, and we all know mamas ever since Eve said, one day I hope you have one just like you.
Absolutely. Yes, they have said that. Yes, they have.
So I'll take that, and now that's not a historical account of really what happened with me and my mama, but it's close.
I'm sure. I know it's happened with me and my mama.
Yeah.
So I think all of us are aware that those little things do happen. So you'll be there Friday night telling the story of The Vampire Chair. 2 showings on that, 6:30 and 8 o'clock. And then you'll be there November 17th at First Pres starting at 7 o'clock. Free event. And although they will take donations. And you'll be telling 2 stories.
2 stories. All of our tellers will be telling 2 stories. They're all local people. We have a group of people that come to every one of our events. And it's wonderful to have people that love storytelling that much.
Absolutely. You have followers.
We have followers.
I love it. I love groupies. Storyteller
We have groupies.
I think that is awesome. Judy, thank you so much for coming on. Judy came on last minute because I thought, I've got Dwight and I need to get Judy because we need to talk storytellers all at one time. But I will keep reminding everybody about November the 17th because that's something I want everybody to be sure and come to. And I'm going to try to get there this year. Something always happens. I don't get there. But Judy,
and more events coming up. Just watch Nancy's program and read the banner and watch local media. We have more events than
And
just
I'll have
that.
Judy on again to tell us, and maybe there's an opportunity for you to go to one of the schools and listen to that storyteller. So, Judy, thank you so much for being on with me today. I really do
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
having
I
me.
always love having you. At least you didn't tell a scary story.
I can come
Boom.
back.
I know you can come back. Okay, folks, don't go away. We're going to take another commercial break here. And again, watch our commercials, support our sponsors, and I'll be right back with the calendar of events of things coming up. And you already know 2 of them. So don't go away. I'll be right back.